Welcome once again to Bill Russo's Short Story Theatre. Today we offer a formula you can use to get rich. You can employ it to become the sixth richest person in the world. The position is vacant just now, as you will soon discover. And you'll also learn how you too can join the elite billionaires club. All you need is a newspaper and a device on which you can listen to this episode of Short Story Theatre, called The Sixth Richest Person in the World.
Nothing beats an old-fashioned newspaper. Nothing. Not my HP desktop, laptop PC, Apple computer, iPad, iPhone, Kindle, or anything else modern technology offers. Getting up in the morning, retrieving the paper from the doorstep, and then sitting down with it and a cup of coffee is my preferred way to start every single day. I'd say that even if newspapers did not make me a billionaire. A billionaire! It wasn't working at a newspaper that made my fortune, or even owning a newspaper. Reading. Yep. Reading the newspaper turned me from $1,000 a month Social Security retiree to the sixth richest person in the world. With $55 billion, I'm one notch ahead of that guy who got credit for starting up Facebook. I don't really care about money. I could have become the world's first trillionaire if getting money were my only passion. Reading the newspaper truly was how I made my fortune. And reading the newspaper is also what is going to bring my world crashing down in just 7 more days. Yes, my end is just ahead. And so, I'm tapping my strange tail into the keyboard of my HP laptop. I'm going to finish the story and save it as a Word document. It will serve both as an explanation of my success and a warning to those who might, in future, be in a position to do what I did. The beginning. That's where all narratives must start. Mine begins in June, 6 years ago, when I retired. For the first time in my 65 years, I was truly able to fully enjoy my morning paper. Rising at 6 every morning out of the habit of 45 years of working for wages. Every morning I scooped up my newspaper from the doorstep and read it from front to back. Gone were the days when I was lucky if I had 15 minutes to scan through the paper. In retirement I could, and did, spend hours wandering through the various sections of the New York Day, the third largest publication in the biggest city in the United States. During the early days of my leisure, money was scarce. My income from Social Security was all that I had to live on, and a great part of it was taken away from me before I ever saw it. Deductions. First, there was some $100 taken away for Medicare. Then there was another $250 sliced from my check for a medical plan to cover part of what Medicare did not cover. What was left over was barely enough for an apple a day to try to keep the doctor away. Back then I possessed no iPhone or iPad. The Walmart phone for $35 a month was all that I had. It was a limited service, but gave me phone calls as well as some internet features. Though I had few extras, my happiness came from the freedom I had in spending my mornings poring over the newspaper and drinking 3 or 4 cups of coffee. What changed? The newspaper. No, I did not give up the day in favor of Newsday, or the Post, or even the New York Times. One Monday morning, June 14th to be exact, I opened my front door. I picked up my copy of the day and sat down at the table and sipped my coffee while skimming the headlines. Subway crash kills 14. Boston Red Sox beat New York Yankees 4 straight. Stocks soar to new high on Wall Street. I noticed that something was wrong. The Sunday paper yesterday morning was dated June 13th. June 13th. So I knew that today's paper should be the edition of the 14th. The 14th. But there it was, right under the nameplate. The New York Daily Day, June 21st. The 21st was listed as today's date. But that was 1 week from today. Quickly assuming it was merely a misprint, I started reading through the news. There were a number of references to things that had happened during the past week, but those days that were supposedly in the past were actually in the future. After studying the paper from page 1 all the way through to the last page, I realized that the newspaper gave the appearance of having been written 1 week in the future. An elaborate joke for sure, but who would go to all the trouble of making up a fake newspaper? I wondered how many other people had gotten a bogus copy of the day. Checking the corner newsstand, I found that all the copies in the pile on the counter had the correct date, June 14th. When I asked the owner of the newsstand if he had any copies with the wrong date printed on them, he abruptly said, "Of course not. Today's the 14th, and that's the date on all the copies of all the papers." Back at my kitchen table, I again picked up the paper dated 1 week ahead and studied it. In the business section, there was an article about a gold mine in Ontario, Canada. It was called the Dome Mine. Dome Mine. And it was discovered in the very early 1900s. The newspaper reported that a new vein of gold had been unearthed. A new vein was unearthed, and it appeared to be the richest vein to be found in North America in more than 50 years. The newspaper reported that the stock price of Dome Mines Limited skyrocketed from $1 per share to $300 per share in just 2 days. I had a small account with a company that allowed investors to purchase fractional shares of stock with investments as low as $10. My tiny portfolio consisted of a half of a share, 1/2 of a share of eBay, one tenth of a share of Amazon, and I had 10 shares of a couple companies whose stock was worth less than $3 per share. Well, shortly before noon that day, I bought 100 shares of Dome Mines Limited at $1 per share. $100. That was a lot of cash for me to gamble based on some weird joke newspaper dated 1 week in the future. The newspaper certainly could not have been real. At the same time, I couldn't see how it could have been a joke. I didn't have many friends, and I certainly didn't have any friends that were capable of an elaborate scam like producing a perfect copy of the New York Day, complete with well-written, elaborate fake stories dated 1 week in the future. But even if the newspaper was bogus, Dome Mines was an established company, and it paid a small dividend every single year. If the stock never rose above $1, at least my $100 would remain intact, and it would grow a little bit when the annual dividend was added to it. I went to sleep that Monday night hoping that somehow the newspaper from the future would bring me a great fortune, but I did not really expect it to happen. Tuesday morning, I woke up an hour before my usual time, out of hopefulness, I guess. I went to the front door to get the paper. It was 5:07, and the sunrise was beautiful. The golden light of dawn was just above the tree line in the distance, and it bathed my front doorstep with a warm glow that illuminated my copy of the morning newspaper. In the distance, I heard the rustling of leaves. An unusually strong breeze was approaching. It nearly flattened the rose bushes at the edge of my front lawn. And then it shot up to my doorstep, where it rifled through my newspaper, flipping the pages open like a deck of cards being shuffled. As quickly as it began, the breeze stopped. I looked down at the newspaper. It had been opened by the wind to the business pages. A headline in block letters 1 inch high proclaimed that a new gold rush was on after discovery of the richest new vein of gold in North America in more than a half of a century. It was indeed Dome Mines. The gold strike was said to be worth billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. What about the date of the paper? I checked. The newspaper was dated Tuesday, June 15th. It was the correct date. All day long, I listened to Bloomberg Business Radio and joyfully heard them detail the quick rise of the price of Dome Mines stock. It opened at $1. By 11 a.m., the value was up to $45. Shortly after lunch, it had zoomed to $85. By the end of the day's trading, Dome Mines was at $145 per share. I sold all my 100 shares and got $14,500 back on my investment of $100. All during that week, I did no further stock trading. I didn't even spend 1 penny of my windfall. I waited patiently, not sure of what I was waiting for. I enjoyed my new prosperity, but I did not intend to use it just yet. The following Monday morning, the 21st of June, I picked up the morning paper at 6 a.m. I was anxious to compare it to the copy I got last week that was from the future, 1 week in the future. And to my shock, I discovered that for the second Monday in a row, my newspaper was dated 1 week ahead. Rushing to my kitchen, I poured a cup of coffee and sat at the table, turning the pages rapidly. I got to the business section, and the headline said, Gold rush in Canada continues. Dome Mines hits new high of $300 per share. 1 hour later, I placed an order for 1,000 shares of Dome Mines at a price of $15,000. The very next day, I sold those shares for $30,000. $30,000, I doubled my money in a day, and thus began an adventure that lasted for more than 5 years. As unbelievable as it sounds, every Monday morning my newspaper was printed from 7 days in the future. The other 6 days it was a normal paper. I continued to use the advance information from the Monday issues to accumulate the vast fortune that I have that now tops $55 billion. I started reading that paper, read it every Monday and analyzed it, and I was able to double my money just about every single week. So I stated that reading the newspaper is what made my fortune, and that is correct. I also stated that reading the newspaper is what is going to bring everything to a quick end in just 7 days, and that is also true. It was the headline in this morning's newspaper that told me my world is about to come crashing down. Today is Monday, and as usual, my Monday morning paper is from 1 week in the future. And in big block letters, 1 inch high, I learned my fate. The headline read, "World's 6th richest person dies at 71 from a heart attack." That's my destiny then. It's there in the day in black and white. I had a heart attack at 6 p.m. Sunday night, early enough in the evening so that my obituary could be front page news on Monday morning. Now, I guess most people would be in shock if they learned they were going to die in a week, but not me. I'm going to fight it. I've got 6 days. 6 days to figure it out, and I will do it. I will figure it out. I can put myself in a hospital. I can put myself in a private hospital, have an artificial heart standing by to take over when the old one gives out. I can get on a heart transplant list. There's many things I can do. From Monday to Wednesday, I put dozens of people to work on various jobs associated with getting my artificial heart set up and getting me placed as a high priority for a heart transplant. On Thursday, I checked into a private hospital where I was to be the only patient. Watching over me was a team of 12 physicians, including 3 of the top heart doctors in the world. On Friday morning, I remembered about my newspaper. I sent someone to pick it up over at my house and bring it to me at the hospital. By Friday noon, all possible preparations for my heart transplant were complete. As soon as my own heart started to fail, the doctors would begin to install the artificial heart. Standby generators were in place in case of a power failure. All possible problems were examined and measures taken to assure that everything would go well. Friday afternoon, I opened up my HP laptop and I began again to type this story, my life story, and hopefully not my death story. Now I realize that this tale I'm telling you stretches the bounds of belief. Is my story real? Am I the 6th richest person in the world, or a mental patient in the Taunton State Hospital for the Insane? Is it possible for a person to receive a copy of a newspaper 1 week before it is actually printed? Perhaps not. But it is possible for a person to believe he has received such a newspaper. And it is possible that this person could by sheer luck have made enormously successful stock trades. So everything I have told you is possible, even if it's hard to believe. Shortly after 4 on Friday afternoon, I had another thought. What if I cancel my subscription to the newspaper? If the Monday morning copy of the paper is not delivered to me, then the chain will be broken and perhaps the story of my demise will not have been printed and I will still be alive. Quickly, I telephoned the subscription office in the New York Day to cancel the paper. I was convinced now that stopping the paper would also stop my death. I punched in the numbers of the subscription department and listened as the recording gave me all of the options until it finally said,
"Press 5 if you wish to cancel your subscription."
I pressed 5 and then listened carefully as the robotic voice said,
"Thank you for calling the subscription office of the New York Day. We are closed at this hour. Please call back again Monday morning at 9 a.m.
But I won't be alive Monday morning at 9 a.m. Cancel me now! Cancel me now! I hit the mute button on the phone and then shut it off. I fell asleep and stayed in slumber or perhaps a coma for more than 12 hours. For the first time in decades, I did not wake up and rush to the doorstep to get my newspaper. I never want to see another newspaper again for as long as I live. For as long as I live. It's Saturday noontime now. It might be only 30 more hours. I summoned my 12 doctors, ordering all the maintenance people to make sure the backup generators are ready to go. I was beginning to panic. Time was growing short. I fell asleep at 5 p.m. Saturday night and slept until 6 on Sunday morning. When I woke up, I momentarily forgot my situation and called for my newspaper. Quickly, I remembered that this is the day I'm supposed to die. I opened my laptop and got back to typing this story, the very one that you are reading or listening to now. I've done everything I can. It's 5 p.m. now, Sunday night. 1 hour, 60 minutes to go until I'm supposed to die. The artificial heart is in the bullpen warming up right now. The engineers have the generators running. They are humming loudly, and it is reassuring to know that if the lights go out during the operation, the generators will kick in instantly and there will not be even a split second of darkness. I'm lying in bed waiting. It's 5:15, 45 minutes to go. My doctors are standing by, scalpels in hand. A small army of nurses are gathered around in a circle around the doctors. It's 5:30, just a half hour to go. I will live. I will live. I will live. My new artificial heart will beat right through 6 o'clock Monday morning. I'll be here even after the newspaper on my doorstep proclaims world's 6th richest person dies of a heart attack. With only 5 minutes to go, I'm ready now to finish this story. In less than 300 seconds, it will be 6 p.m., the time that the newspaper said I died from a heart attack. 1 or 2 seconds after 6. If my heart starts to fail, the physicians will install my new heart. 12 hours after that, the anesthesia will wear off. I will awaken, and I will pick up my laptop and erase this story. You will never read it because I'll be alive. Alive, 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 I said.
And so ends this edition of Short Story Theatre. But what about the ending? The old man said that 12 hours after his artificial heart was installed, he would delete the story from his laptop. He did not do so. Is that because he did indeed expire at 6 p.m. Saturday night, as was reported in the newspaper? Or did he recover, and decide to begin a new, and anonymous life? Or was he after all just another patient in the Taunton State Hospital? A patient, but a patient with a story to tell. The Sixth Richest Man in the World was written especially for short story theatre by Bill Russo, who also appeared as the rich man, or should I say the delusional man. We don't know for certain, do we? If you liked our play, please like it on Facebook, or wherever you hear the podcast. Tell somebody else about our little theatre in the alley just off Main Street, and share it on Facebook. This is Basil Nightingale saying, thanks for listening, and join us again real soon. Won't you?